Hello, friends. Welcome to Pod Maverick After Dark. Oh, no, wait. It's Mavs Party because it's the middle of the day on July 1st. It's been a couple hours, but the Dallas Mavericks managed to sign Klay Thompson in a sign-in trade that I don't entirely understand. You are joining me as I am out back of my aunt's patio, and we are going to talk a little bit about this trade. Now, I need y'all's help here. This is a Mavs Party, as you guys know. I posted a link down there in the comments that I need you to click into because I need some of y'all to help me, to help explain to me what the heck is going on with this trade. Because to be quite candid, I have been working all day, and I don't entirely know all of the details. Josh went live last night to talk about the Marshall signing, which is really, really fascinating when you put these two things together. Now, my kind of basic understanding of this trade is that the Dallas Mavericks worked in a 3-team trade with the Golden State Warriors and with the Charlotte Hornets. They sent Josh Green to the Hornets. And earlier, as I understood it, the Mavericks were potentially getting back 2 picks. I've not seen the final tally of what's going on there, whether the Mavericks are sending back any picks to the Warriors. And then we have the Mavericks getting Klay Thompson, and he has signed a 3-year, $50 million deal, which just... goodness, 3 years for Klay Thompson, future Hall of Famer, one of the best shooters in NBA history. Really just pretty shocked. I'm very excited. I think if you were to ask me a couple of weeks ago, is this even possible? I probably just would have rolled my eyes at the concept. But here we are now. The Mavericks went to the finals several weeks ago, and now they are outbidding and out entertaining the Lakers for a future Hall of Famer. And all right, we got my guy. I'm pretty sure this is Henry down there in the chat wanting to join us here. So Henry, you're gonna have to give me your take on this. Klay Thompson and Kyrie Irving playing together. What's going on, my friend?
What's shaking, boss? How you doing?
I am surviving. I am plying myself with more caffeine. My wife and I drove from Dallas to St. Louis starting at 7 p.m. last night. So we got in about 4 this morning, and I've just kind of been going. So what's going on?
Nothing much, man. We're cool. And shout out to Dow Dang. I know he's probably watching this, but a meaningless conversation we had back early.
Did I lose you? I feel like I lost your audio, Henry. Henry, no. Okay, I'm going to bring Josh on, and then I'll bring you back up here in a little while, okay? Josh, welcome to the show. You're a new person here. Tell us about yourself. What's going on?
How are you doing? You're a lunatic. I need to tell the public that you're a lunatic. I cannot believe you're doing this right. Well, no. I can't believe you're doing this.
This is fun. This was a nice little jolt. It was, I think the trade happened, about 1 o'clock, or was it earlier in the day?
Somewhere around there.
I was kind of sitting in a staff meeting and I'm just dying on the vine. I'm trying to stay awake and it doesn't really function. And all of a sudden we get the my favorite thing that happens in Mavs Moneyball Slack is when 19 people post various vague things alluding to something that should be obvious. But no one actually shares a literal news link, which drives me crazy. I'm like, guys, we have a website to run. And so if I went and looked at Woj and I saw the 3 for 50, and I got to be quite honest with you, man. I had a feeling the Mavericks were going to get Klay Thompson. You were on a different side of this fence. You thought that the Mavericks were getting used as leverage, but I really thought that the Mavericks would try to clear enough space to go for 4 for 80 to match Los Angeles. This is nuts to me. And it feels like, I don't want to overstate it, but it feels like a paradigm shift for the Mavericks. What do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this flies in the face of every offseason failure that they've had post 2011, right? Like the last 18 months or so. Like it's a completely new organization. It's a completely new team. And this just kind of solidifies the point that you made in 2021. I shared it again. You wrote that column about how less Mark Cuban would be better for the Mavericks, and you illustrated your point. I believe didn't Bomani Jones talk about it on his podcast?
Yeah, Bomani Jones did. Jason Concepcion did, and I actually texted Jason today and was just like, "Look, like, at 40 years old, I have a pretty. There's a lot I'm really not good at, but I'm good at people. I'm good at social situations. I'm good at reading how things work, and Mark Cuban." I'm going to be, in the long run of things, I'm eternally grateful to Mark Cuban for buying the team and owning the team and changing the franchise's really awful 90s trajectory. But there came a time when he just didn't know when to step away. Like, he helped make the league smarter, and as a result, things got compoundingly more difficult. And he went from being the guy who was often the forward-thinking, smartest guy in the room to being just one of the crowd. And when he was as involved as he was, I don't think that helped things. And when they finally got fed up and fired Donnie Nelson and Rick Carlisle resigned, Tim Cato put the pressure on the organization that way. Cuban went out and made smart hires. Okay. I didn't like the kid hiring. I was wrong. Didn't know enough about Nico. Probably was wrong with what I said there. I remember when they hired the cap guy out of Brooklyn. That was the thing for me where I was like, oh, okay, these guys are doing stuff differently. And so I'm just, when you look at what they've done today, and when you look at what they've done essentially since like the JaVale McGee signing, like after that, everything they've done has been singles, doubles, leading to a home run. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah, it's pretty remarkable. Basically, since the Kyrie trade, their only miss has been Grant Williams, who they turned into PJ Washington. So it's been pretty remarkable. And like you said, he stepped back. He doesn't even own the team anymore. He's gone from owning the team and being the final decision maker on everything that they did to not even have, I don't even know how much of a voice in the room he still has.
He doesn't realistically have one. And one of the things that in hindsight, it's like he very much framed his own exit to the reporters who covered it by telling them that he would have a voice in the room, which he doesn't. He doesn't have one. I'm sure that he gets to say things and they hear him, but he has no decision-making capacity. And the thing about that is, if I were him, I'd kind of be okay with that. You're a minority owner. People listen to you. You're a shareholder, but you're not part of the team in the decision-making factor. And that's okay. Like he
helped build a team that won a ring. Like
that's right.
His legacy is intact. Like
what this allows me to do as a fan, what this allows me to do is do the same thing that I'm going to do with Tim Hardaway Jr. is eventually I'm not going to remember the bullshit, and I'm going to remember all of the good stuff. And like Cuban brought a lot of good stuff to the table, selling the team at the right time with the right decision makers in place, which he put in place, Nico, Kid, etc. Like he deserves credit for that. And I'm just pleased that, he can kind of walk off into the sunset now.
Yeah. He's left the organization in about as good a hands as you could possibly imagine. You brought up the cap guy from Brooklyn. They also, what's his name? Matt Riccardi, who's one of their, I think also came from Brooklyn. He was Brooklyn's like top draft guy, I think, back before they brought in Kevin, like when they kind of rebuilt that team on the fly that attracted Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving in the first place, when they got the D'Angelo Russells and the Spencer Dinwiddies and the Jared Allens and Nick Claxtons and all those guys. So, it's a completely different front office from what they were working with from 2011 to like 2020, basically the Donnie Nelson regime. It's a completely new organization. They're moving in a completely different way. You just see the move. Like it's not just it's the volume of moves. Like remember from 2011 to about 2020, basically pre-Nico, they just didn't make enough moves. Like remember we're just like, you got
We
to
had the same
do
roster
stuff.
for 4 to 5 years, and
Yeah,
it's they would make moves around the edges, and
it was
you know,
either the big fish or try to moneyball it with these like very low budget signings like that. It was either all or nothing, and you just can't win like that in the NBA. The NBA is all about talent. You gotta have talent.
and I want to get this kind of off my chest, and hopefully I will move on. One of the things I'm going to really enjoy over the next several days is the lauding and the praising of what the Mavericks have done here. And Jake Kemp, formerly of The Ticket, of the Dumb Zone podcast now, wrote an article today for Dallas. What is it? Dallas D Magazine, and just talked about how the former front office wouldn't pivot and would have still be stuck in neutral. A, 100% agree with that, but B, nobody said this stuff at the time. We were constantly sold a bill of bullshit about how, you know what? It's really great that we signed 2 guys that weren't in the league before the bubble. And you know what? We're going to re-sign them to contracts that nobody wants. And like, that was just the sort of stuff we were sold by the Mavericks. Like, and then the some of our peers in media apparatus would go, you know what? This shit tastes delicious. And we're going to tell you why you should also enjoy it. And I'm looking forward now that we can have this really actually good team instead of a idea of what the Mavericks sold us as a good team for several years. And this is going to be a lot of fun. I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah, it'll be nice. It'll definitely be nice to not have to argue about this stuff as much anymore, and we could just talk about the actual basketball a little bit more, which I know is what you like, talking about the games and not having to talk about cap space and off-season drama and front office dysfunction and coaching dysfunction and all that BS. You know, we can now focus on the games. So it's pretty wild. And I mean, we haven't even talked directly about the move. Like, we've talked a little bit. We talked the last podcast that we talked together about Klay and kind of how you felt about it. Now that it's here, you know, I talked with Matthew Phillips last night and we kind of went into the pot because it was still hypothetical at that point. What's your kind of initial reaction to A, the number he got, and B, what he looks like on this team? Because he's a very divisive player right now, I think.
Sure. Well, this actually leads to directly one of the super chats we just got from Miguel Dominguez. He has, are we hard cap for the entirety of Klay's deal? The answer to that question, Miguel, is when they sign, as they moved out from underneath Josh Green's money, something about that put them, they're currently below the first apron is the answer to what, you know. We're going to have Scott on CBA Mavs at some point to walk us through some of the details, but the Mavericks have, I'll summarize it to say what I understand right now. The Mavericks are below the first apron and thus have future flexibility. They still don't have a lot of options because they are over the salary cap and they're operating very close to the apron line. And I think if you were to enter the season over that apron line, that screws with your flexibility for a real long time. Like, it's basically until it cuts away elements of things that you can do. And my understanding right now, because the Mavericks have their 25 and their 31 pick, they do have some flexibility within the current means of the CBA. So that's pretty interesting to me. But your specific question about the number, it works for me, because if they were going to pay north of $20 million, and I don't know why, it's not our money, it's not our flexibility, it's their job to figure this stuff out. But there's something about the fact of paying a guy who a lot of the fan base really doesn't think is very good. Like, I've gotten a lot of comments, a lot of texts, a lot of emails to this effect of, why are they going after a guy who is washed? Bear in mind, he's played more games the past 2 seasons than Josh Green has by a significant margin, while also scoring, and this is very important, double digits. Josh Green never scored more than 9 points a game. Sorry.
I think it's what I talked about last night is the way that the national media kind of covered Klay. Not saying that they were wrong to do this, but if you were just watching from a national coverage perspective, because you can't watch every single Golden State Warriors game if you're a Mavericks fan, no one can do that. You just saw what's wrong with Klay because he clearly taken a step back from his pre-injury self. But that doesn't mean he turned into a bad player. And then, of course, you have the very national high-profile spotlight of his last game as a Warrior. They
Mhm.
lose
Really bad.
in the play-in. Yeah, he looked terrible. He was really bad. Missed all 10 shots, didn't score any points. They don't even win the play-in. They don't even get in the playoffs. They missed the playoffs. And it's a bad look. So everyone's got that in their mind as their last image of Klay Thompson. But he, like I said on last night, last 3 years, those are all his post-injury years. He's 40% on 10 attempts a game for three. Like
I mean, that's a lot. That's more attempts than Tim at a better percentage than Tim.
And Tim
So
was
if
a
you're
good high volume 3-point shooter.
Yes. And there's all this idiotic consternation. And my favorite is from these fucking poser ass Laker fans who claim to be national media, where it's like, what about the stagnant? What will happen? Will Klay be okay? Will he be able to get his shots up? My first thought to that is, please shut the fuck up. The Mavericks will be fine. They'll figure it out. I think 3 offensive savants plus Derek Lively, who is 7 foot tall Draymond Green, living. I'm gonna dine on that comparison. That's my thought for a while. I think the Mavericks will be fine. If you're worried about the defense, I get it, and I think it's something to look forward to seeing how they solve it, because you assume that Klay is coming here to start. There's some questions in the chat. Oh, it'd be great if he was a 6 man. He was pissed at the Warriors for making him a 6 man, and he was pretty good off the bench. So the Mavericks have some things they have to figure out, whether that's schematically, whether that's, Luka and Kyrie playing better defense in the regular season, which frankly is something all of us should expect a little more of, or at least from Luka. But look, guys, they got to the finals. They've earned the benefit of the doubt here, right? Like, can we? Yes. There's a lot of consternation going on, and it's like when I'm saying, guys, lighten the fuck up. What can we? I'm really excited.
Yeah,
this is great.
I mean, this is the most high-profile free agency signing in Mavericks history, and it's not even close. Not even close. They've never signed a player of this name recognition or resume or pedigree.
That's right.
Whatever you want to say it. Like that's just how it is. They've never acquired anyone like this in the franchise history. And yeah, the weird thing about the drawbacks to Klay coming here, I don't understand what the obsession is going like the offense first. It's the same thing when they traded for Kyrie. Like, how are they going to work? Like, there's only one ball, and everyone keeps focusing on the offense. And I'm like, the offense is the least. That's the last thing you need to worry about all these acquisitions. The Mavericks,
and it didn't work in the finals. It didn't work in the finals because why? What broke in the finals? The shooting. So I think here's the problem. What's the solution? Going and getting one of the best 3-point shooters in the history of the multiverse is a pretty fucking good solution.
Yeah, anything that might be a drawback for Klay being here has nothing to do with offense. It's the same thing I said when Kyrie got here. And I think it's because it's easier to talk about offense. And it just is. I like to talk about offense when I write my posts. I sometimes focus on offense too much because it's easier to get data. It's easier to get numbers. It's easier to get clips. Like, it's just easier. It's just
also if you get defensive stuff wrong, NBA people will be like, you are wrong. Here is why. And then you look at it from the NBA person's point of view and you go, oh.
Yeah,
it's like one of the things that got a lot of clip last year is like, why is Tim Hardaway making this switch? Well, Tim Hardaway was making the switch because that was what the scheme demanded. Right. And that was the personnel the Mavericks had. So it's like, what happened when you get better personnel? You play better defense.
Yeah. Intent is harder to decipher with defense because, like you said, schemes, what coaches are telling players to do, all that kind of stuff. So, so it makes it harder to talk about. So I get it. It's easier to just be like, oh, offense, Luka dribbles the ball a lot. That's bad for Klay, when it's like, he's the greatest 3-point shot creator that the NBA has over like the last 5 years, besides maybe like a LeBron or someone else. So again, that's not going to be a problem. The two things that you have to look out for is defense, because yes, they did get Grimes, and yes, Najee Marshall is not that big of a drop off from Derek Jones Jr., but those two guys aren't going to be on the floor with Klay and Luka in the final 2 minutes of a game. So again, you're going to be closing with Luka, Kyrie, Klay, PJ, and then one of the centers, likely Lively or Gafford. So how do you work around that? Because between Klay, Luka, and Kyrie, you're looking at best 3 average defend. It's just there's not a ton of high level. It's PJ and Lively are the 2 high level defenders in that lineup. How do you work around Klay, Luka, and Kyrie? Because like it or not, Klay is definitely taking a step back defensively.
Yep.
And that's the question the Mavericks have to answer. And I think that's part of the back and forth is they got to the finals because they finally tuned from we're going to be an all offense, we have to win by shooting threes, to we're going to win by being athletic and being a hell of a defensive team. And then they got to the finals and didn't have enough shooting. So the big question for this offseason was, how do we tune that? Like, how do we find the right balance between we need to take a step back from this all defense lineup that we ran out in the finals because we need to get some more shooting back, but let's not go all the way back. So now that we're back to pre-2024 and we can't win games unless we make 23s or whatever that number was for them pre-2024. So pre-Gafford and pre-Lively and all that. So I don't know if Klay is the answer to finding that right balance, and they're going to have to work around his defense. But they're going to make shots. I don't see this being a problem in the regular season at all. They'll have to figure some things out in playoff-specific matchups where teams are going to try to get Klay, Kyrie, Luka all moving around.
Sure.
But Klay, at least, he might have lost a step as maybe like a lead ball handler defender, which Golden State wanted him to do, and he was very good at. You know, if they can find a way that he's not having to guard the other team's initiator, and they can keep him a little more off ball and use his smarts, because he's still a smart player.
Sure.
He isn't as gifted athletically as he was before the injuries. They can find him a way to be more off ball and not have to guard the opposing team's, initiator, which is going to be tough because, is it PJ doing that? Is it Luka doing that? Is it so they'll have to answer that question, but they've got the rim protection to funnel some things in and help teams some mistakes. And that's why having Eric Lively and Daniel Gafford is so good, because they can get away with a little bit more because they've got two of the best rim protectors in the NBA statistically behind them. So that's what they're gonna have to figure out. And the chemistry stuff. Is he okay with being a third option? I assume he is, because he's willingly choosing to go to Dallas.
And even if he's not, like, we understand realistically and this is a small thing I didn't really thought until he said it, but Kyrie Irving doesn't have to play 65 games next year.
No.
And he didn't this year. He missed 25. But if you understand that he's 30-something years old and is a little,
but when he missed those games, the team was not great.
Sure, but that's what I'm saying is if you have a different second option in Klay, so that can help. So
yeah, for sure, that's part of it. And also the age thing. I know that's a big thing that everyone's worried about. How old is Kyrie? What is Kyrie? Is Kyrie 32 right now?
Yeah.
Or he's going to turn 33, I think, before next season ends?
I don't remember.
But this is your window, right?
No. This is the window. That's true.
The ideal scenario is you get a young, defensive-minded wing that can create shots and shoot, which is, the most desirable player in the NBA that every team wants. So when you're in a position that the Mavericks are, you're going to have to maximize this window with Kyrie as your second best player. So really, I don't think the age thing matters at all. I know that sounds silly.
No,
I get it. Blow up, but you have to maximize this Kyrie window that you have. So you go from there.
Well, you should get back to your day, and I'm going to bring up other folks. Thanks for talking, Josh.
Y'all have fun. I think everyone's going to be in a good mood, so have fun today.
That's right. All right, talk soon, buddy. Josh and I wanted to talk, but then we just things kept happening. All right, so we're going to bring Henry back up, who apparently got a phone call, and then it shuts your app off. So what's going on, dude?
All right, can you hear me now?
I can. You sound good.
Perfect. All right, so first things first. Again, shout out to you and shout out Dow Dang. It was something small, but ended up going to Google cybersecurity, SOC, try hack me. So I'll be in tech soon. So shout out to Dow and you for that small conversation. But what do you think our version of the Death Lineup 2.0 is going to look like?
Ooh, that's a good question. I need to see Marshall play more basketball. I don't know enough about him. And I tweeted earlier today that for me, he's the kind of medium floor gamble that I suspect he'll matter to this team a lot more than I would, just kind of like the Derrick Jones Jr., where I wouldn't have assumed that. Man, I've seen
him one-on-one lock up Shea like you wouldn't believe.
He's a
minus
big
the
guy.
athleticism. That's what I'm saying. Derrick Jones Jr. was great. Minus the athleticism, Najee Marshall is better than Derrick Jones in every single way. When you watch Derrick Jones in the finals, he was too thin to guard Tatum or Brown.
Yeah.
Najee does not have that problem. He damn near had Jimmy Butler in a chokehold, right? Undertaker style.
So one and this sort of goes to the point that I brought up a second ago about, what if Kyrie's not playing? If Kyrie's not playing for whatever reason, the Mavericks don't have a single guy on the floor smaller than 6'7".
Right.
That's a big team. And the size is one of the things that the Mavericks really took advantage of down the stretch and how they outbullied the Thunder, for example. So I don't have a good answer for that yet. I'm gonna have to think about that for a while because I think it sort of depends on what you're going for. Are you looking to strangle a team to death on defense, or are you looking to destroy them on offense?
I mean, would you compare Golden State's death lineup when it was Andre, Iggy, Draymond, all them, to the version of the Boston Celtics that we just lost to, where they could switch everything? In that aspect, I'm talking switch everything. There's no glaring weaknesses. What would you run as a lineup? Again, if you didn't think about it, that's perfectly fine. But think of Warriors lineup when they had Iggy, Draymond, Steph, Klay, KD.
Tell me what your answer is, because I don't know right now.
Just off the top of my head, without even giving it any real thought,
yeah,
I'd probably go honestly Luka Kai, Quentin Grimes, because he is upgraded Josh Green in every way. I saw him hold down Jimmy Butler with one leg damn near going out. His point of attack defense with Najee Marshall, we are legit. If you haven't seen the tape already, watch that. But I goes Luka, Kyrie, Quentin Grimes. This is where I'm torn, but I might go Klay PJ. Small ball 5 for PJ.
Sure.
Is
I
what
like
I
it.
possibly might be thinking.
Lively is going to be hard to keep off the floor for me. I just the more I think about it and the more I talk about it with other people, he's just a basketball Pokemon, and we're at like the second stage for him. He's going to be nuts. And so I'm really looking forward to seeing what they can get out of him.
Do you feel like the constant motion, off-ball motion, action, DHOs, and constant rescreening that led to Golden State's success against Celtics in 2022, do you think Jason Kidd is going to then reintegrate that into this offense so we don't have to work as hard to get shots and obviously free up Klay some more?
I think they certainly should. I mean, one element that we talked about down the stretch last year was that the Mavericks didn't have enough guys who could dribble. And it's not like Klay's an and one mixtape guy, but I feel pretty confident with him putting it on the floor now and again. And I think you have to do those sorts of things just to keep the defense guessing. You want to be more multiple. You want to do, go ISO ball can work, and you can really obviously march to the finals doing it. But I would like to see the Mavericks, if they have capable players, continue to try to expand what they do and what they've done. They ran a lot of Luka Kyrie action in the final 15 games of the season, and then we didn't see a lot of that stuff for several playoff series. And so I just, I will just say what I've been saying is that at this point, I think we owe everyone involved a lot more benefit of the doubt.
I'll give it to him. Again, you know me, I was unapologetic, and I still am on the Fire Kid train. That was me 100%, and I own that. But if he can find a way to get, because again, we know the obvious play, they double Luka,
sure,
give it to Lively in the short roll. You got fucking Klay Thompson sitting in the corner. Good fucking look. But I just hope we can bring in more option, because that ISO ball went dead flat against the Celtics, and you saw previous in the series before, Indiana gave them fucking fits. So unless somehow TJ McConnell and Andrew Nembhard are better than Luka and Kyrie, we have to switch up that game plan, and I'm hoping that Klay Thompson will bring that into it, because if it is, we're going to be right back in the finals.
Can't wait. And Josh and I didn't mention this, but the fact that the Mavericks were able to hold on to Sweeney, I think is pretty important.
I hope we bring in Phil Hendy.
I want to write about that, and I haven't yet because I don't want to jinx it, but I wouldn't be shocked if they get Handy. Yeah, I really do.
Do we have any updates on the Josh Green going to Charlotte and kind of like what the trade entails?
So they sent us two second round picks, and I'm pretty sure one of those is getting sent to the Warriors, but I don't know for sure. I'm sure the chat will correct me.
Okay, yeah, because I didn't see any updated things. I'll probably go on Twitter and find out literally as soon as I open up.
It's tough. No, like it's really so. Like all the Warriors guys, this was just where it's like when everybody acts like they don't have a dog in the fight, particularly like local media, where everyone like tweets all defensively, and that was what all like Anthony Slater and Chris Haynes was like. Well, this isn't done yet. This isn't true, and it's like okay, okay, Jan. Adrian Wojnarowski doesn't fuck up quite like that. So, no. All right. Well, I got to get the folks, and I only have a certain amount of battery life. I'm out here raw dogging it with no plug on the computer. So, thank you so much for waiting and hanging out. Okay.
Yes, sir. See you on the next one.
All right. Talk soon. All right. Coming up next, Brian. What's up, Brian?
Man, excitement. contentment. You know what I mean? We're having a good free agency so far. I'm really, really, really excited about excuse me, the things that I've seen us do so far. Oh, can I try my hand at the death lineup question?
Yes, that was a great question. I'm just too stupid at the moment. Like my brain is not functioning.
No, because I've honestly been thinking about it since I saw the trade was made official. I think it would have to be Luka. Kyrie is really the one that I have a question about, but he's going to be out there because he's just too good offensively.
Right. Like he's the one that in my brain where I was like, would you have Kyrie out there?
I think we do. It is so tempting to have a lineup of nobody shorter than 6'7". That would be amazing. But I think we can do that in spurts in the game.
Yeah.
I think Kyrie played good enough point of attack defense like in the playoffs that we can say, okay, you'll be out there, and then if you get caught on a big or something, we can just scram switch you out there or whatever. But Luka, Kyrie, Najee Marshall, PJ, Derek Lively, because I think Najee is a good enough point of attack defender, and he is such a good defender on those big, burly, strong wings that having him and PJ and Luka out there means that, okay, the other team can't outmuscle you. Like, if they feel like they can run by you, good luck. You're going to be meeting one of, PJ or Lively or maybe Najee himself. He's playing low man, I don't know, at the rim, and good luck at that point. But Najee is just like a grizzly bear with real skill, and I love that dude. I've loved that dude for years. I'm so glad we have him.
I don't know enough about him. I'm looking forward to learning though. I did see one Pelicans blogger basically say nobody's gonna fuck with Luka now with him on the floor next to him, which I like that just as
all of that. I've seen him choke out Jimmy Butler on the court. We ain't gonna have to worry about anybody touching Luka Doncic, man. I am. Trust me, that dude is going to be as much of a fan favorite as Derek was. It won't be because of the dunks. It'll be for more of the Dan Gafford, really gritty hustle plays and great defense, and just watching him defensive rebound and seeing what a difference it makes to have a wing who is actually out there able to get both two big ass hands on the ball and wrestle it away from anybody when Lively is getting one or two dudes at a time boxing him out, and having just that extra help in closing out possessions, you're going to notice a difference immediately. And if his shot is real, and he shot at 40%, 41% last year and 42 from the corners, so I think it could be, then yeah, we're really in for something. And as for Klay, I don't know what it's going to look like to have that kind of spacing on this team, because I haven't seen anything like it ever on this team since maybe not since Dirk, as far as off ball gravity.
Sure.
And
big deal.
Yeah, and I feel like this is the first time since Luka has gotten to the NBA where he has both real plus level NBA level athletes and real A plus NBA level spacing around him at the same time. And I am so fascinated to watch defenses try and deal with that, especially with Kyrie waiting on the other wing and Klay in the weak side.
Marcellus points out, how do we talk about a Golden State death lineup and not include Klay?
It's a good
actually,
wait.
I like the thought. I just see he's right. He's right.
No, I had a brain for it. Yeah, it would be Luka, Kyrie, Klay.
I think you got to put Kyrie on the bench.
I don't
really
know.
Dirty to say out loud.
Well, so here's what I think happens, right? I think you go Luka, Kyrie, Klay. I think that's set.
What a great problem.
That's it. Yeah, right. And I'm not as worried about Klay's defense, because I think the bigger
the back line help,
the twos, the threes, he's got some fours, he's 6'7" and thick as a tree trunk. So if he's your back line defender and he's meeting people at the rim, that's still fine. So I'm not really concerned about that. But yeah, those three, and then honestly, you can take your pick between PJ, Derek, and Najee, depending on if the team we're playing is smaller or not. I think PJ's going to have to be out there no matter what. And I feel like Lively is also a lock. But if you just happen to want to play 5 out, you could go Najee too and not really feel a difference.
Well, man, my just cooking with gas off-season take is that Derek Lively has a better handle than PJ, and we need to just admit it and move on.
Yeah, he does. Yeah. If PJ's out there, he's playing the 4, or if it's a no Lively lineup, he is clearly the 5. PJ needs to be at God Sham God Camp this summer, working on his ball handling. That's all he needs to be doing all summer.
Yeah.
Because we can't ever have another play like that Drew Holiday at half court play in the fight. I don't ever want to see that again.
God.
I don't ever want to see that again.
That's right.
But
You got anything else for us, friend?
Dude, I'm just excited. They went and added a bunch of players I've loved for years, and Grimes and Najee Marshall and Klay Thompson, and we might bring Dennis Smith Jr. back. And now we've got a defender of every archetype down the lineup, first and second lineup. So, nah, man, I'm just happy to get to watch this basketball soon.
That's right. Well, Brian, thanks for hanging out. We'll talk soon, okay?
Yes, sir. Have a good one.
All right, coming up next is Connor. Connor, what's up, dude?
What's going on, Kirk? How are you?
I am great. Welcome to the show. What's going on? What are we thinking?
I'm not going to be as deep. I got some quick hits that I wanted to talk about, and then I'll get out of here. But I'm in a group chat with some Lakers fans, and so this has been a very fun day and a half to go back and forth with we're going to get him, no, we're going to get him, so on and so forth. As soon as the Mavs got him, it was immediately like, well, he's washed anyway. So
it's the best.
What's the point of having him at all?
I would have done the same thing if I was in.
That's what I told him. I was like, had you guys got it? I said the same thing. He's washed. We didn't need him. But it's really nice for the Mavs to get a high-profile free agent and also have it be at the expense of the Lakers. It's awesome. It's a great feeling. I've been smiling all day.
Yeah. Well, I just got this tweet sent to me. I can't even say what the guy's name is. Trees from the Forest. Klay made a very self-aware basketball decision despite the tremendous other pressures pulling him to the Lakers. This was the best basketball environment for him. That alone tells me he will be successful in a Mavericks jersey. I like that take. I think it's correct. One of the things in some of the stories about why he was frustrated with the Warriors environment is I think just the media, just the circus was pretty loud, and Dallas has its own kind of circus, but it's a little more low key.
But if you're trying to escape the circus, I think Kyrie's shown that Dallas is not a bad place to do it.
100%. Great observation.
Yeah. I'm going to miss Josh.
Sure.
I'm going to miss DJJ from yesterday. I don't know the last time I have been like, hey, but good for them. Like, they're going to be fine. Both those guys are going to be fine. I'm going to miss them in a Mavs uniform, but it's an upgrade, so it's hard to be upset overall. And then finally, the Mavs, I guess, have just decided that there is no offseason for basketball for me this whole year because we've got Olympic qualifiers, we've got Summer League, and my wife is super excited for all of that.
So, I mean, I get the same thing. I just told my wife, like, we're on a family trip, and she's just like, you're going to do what? It's like, I'm sorry, I have to.
I said, we're watching basketball this week, right? And she was like, what are you talking about? I was like, well, Slovenia has to try to qualify.
Well, I mean, you start to watch those FIBA games, and they are just like a soccer match where you're in and out in 95 minutes, and it's like, this is great. So
yeah. But anyway, so hey, I appreciate you putting your vacation on pause for a second to go.
Absolutely, man. Appreciate you joining. We'll talk soon. All right.
We'll talk to you, Kirk.
All right, coming up next is Andy.
Hi, thanks
for
for
a long
having me
time. Welcome back. How are you?
Very good. Now even better with all those acquisitions. I'm very thankful to the Mavs to ease us in a little bit. With Grimes and Marshall, and now obviously Klay. So that is amazing. I didn't think that would be possible up until I thought the Lakers would do it again, but no, it didn't. So I'm very happy about that. And then I thought about the starting lineup ever since I got the news, and even before that. And the more also this chat went on, I realized it doesn't really matter. Mm-hmm. We have so many options and so many matchup dependent ideas which we could throw out there. Is amazing. I can't remember a single year, a single season where we have these options. We could put Grimes in if somebody's hurt, or if you need a more defensive-minded team or whatever, or taller or faster. This is amazing. I still remember the Dwight years and everything from 2011 on. So what a great problem to have. It's
and somehow him and Maxi Kleber are still on the team.
That's true. That's amazing. And see, we don't have to depend too much on him anymore. And just days maybe ago, we thought about what to do with Maxi. Yep. And now he's what the second or maybe the third guy coming off a 4 from a bench. So that's something. I'm really happy about this. So just thought I voiced that really. And my opinion, of course, as well, is that it's Luka, Kyrie, and Klay, and so that's pretty cool. I just wanted to bring that up here. And also in Germany, I spoke with another colleague who's very much into Mavs basketball. So it's not just only European championship and football and soccer going on. It's basketball as well. That makes me very happy, very proud.
It's great stuff, man. Appreciate you joining once again. All right.
Thank you very much.
All right. Talk soon. Then last but not least, from the Southern Hemisphere, we have Rain. What's going on, man?
Hey there, Kirk. I don't mean to bring it down. I'll start off with what I see positive. I think Clay's going to get wide open shots without having to sprint his ass off.
Yes.
Hopefully that saves his legs a bit and gives a bit more energy for defense, because I do have some defensive concerns. But even I also have faith in Nico that if this doesn't work, that he will find a way to pivot and find a new avenue to go through.
I think that's right.
I mean, look, at the end of the day, what is it? 3 years, 50 million, about 16-ish million a year. It's not a terrible contract. They didn't really give up too much. To answer your question from before, so it looks like the Mavs are getting a second-round pick from the Hornets, and so are the Warriors.
It's nice to have. Nice to have.
Which
like it always drives me crazy when they don't have any, and I'm like, can we please have a pick?
Well, as Nick would say, it's just a little bit more lube to add to make those trades work. I do have some defensive questions.
Sure.
But,
and they have to answer them. There's a lot of defensive questions for a regular season team that might play Luka, Kyrie, and Klay Thompson at the same time.
Well, and that's just it. Luka also does play into this a bit, because with his health, with his knees and his legs, playing all through the Olympics, I get the feeling he's probably going to need some time in the regular season to need to take some time off. And if we also look at a lot of teams that make it to the finals, don't necessarily perform as well in the regular season. Now, that being said, it seems like a lot of our core lineup, being Najee Marshall and Klay, didn't necessarily go that deep. So hopefully that also can offset that a little bit.
Right. Are they playing like a 9-man rotation like the way the Thunder did? And can you work guys' minutes down to where, I don't even know what Klay Thompson's average is, but can you trim 2 to 3 minutes off that? Something like that. That would be, and can you then tell Klay, okay, we're playing you less, we need you to play harder, that sort of thing.
It's probably going to be the case, but if we think about it this way, like if they really needed to run an all defensive lineup, and still they could have either Luka or Kyrie, an Exum or a Grimes as a 2, like a Najee Marshall as a 3, a PJ as a 4, or a Maxi even as a 4, and then either a Daniel Gafford or a Lively as a 5. And if you think about it that way, that lineup doesn't sound too bad defensively. Who knows? Maybe in that light, you could switch out Najee Marshall with Klay, and it would still work defensively. There's going to be a lot more spacing. I'll give it this. Although I think these days he's more of a Tim Hardaway type shooter. Looking through his game logs, he seems to have stretches where he doesn't shoot so well, and then have a couple of games where he shoots real hot. So, but at the end of the day, it's still a better percentage on more volume. We have more spacing. I think the extra spacing that Najee Marshall was adding, just looking through also his game logs, a bit of his history, he's also quite based on his last season at least, he's an improved shooter over Derrick Jones Jr. And that was not catching wide open threes from Luka or Kyrie. So I would imagine that's also going to see at least a little bump. So, hey, if we get to an above the break 3 shooting contest, the Mavs are probably in a much better place. They've probably taken a step back defensively, but we'll see how this goes. I mean, OKC, the moves they've pulled, they're scaring me a little bit more for the next
Absolutely,
season.
they're really good.
We can deal with that when it comes to it.
I think that's the right approach. Enjoy this for right now. That's what I plan to do.
All right, so thanks for being a psycho, Kirk.
All right, man. We'll talk soon, okay?
See you, man.
All right. I want to get to some super chats. Cowboy says in the chat, he says, Mark Cuban was Al Davis with a better relationship with the commissioner, bucked the system, ultra focused on one type of player, and was polarizing. Josh McSwain, my buddy, says, with Tim Hardaway Jr. and Josh Green gone, who will draw Kirk's ire? That's a good question. I think the early front runner has to be PJ Washington, just because I can tell how skilled he is, and then he does things which doesn't make any sense. And then Seven Harry Lime says, Kirk's so sorry that Josh Green is gone. Thoughts and prayers for you during this difficult time. Last thing that we'll end with is CBA Mavs shared a tweet saying, as of right this moment, the Mavericks are $2.58 million below the hard cap. They have one empty roster spot. They still have two exceptions, but they cannot go above the hard cap. So that's an interesting thing to note. They have up to $4.25 million using the full MLE, 4 years max, and up to $4.67 using the 2-year max. I don't know what those last two things mean, but Scott is smarter than me, so we're just going to leave it at that. Okay, guys, a lot of fun. Thank you so much for hanging out. I had a good time, and we will see where we go from here. This is a great start to the offseason and should leave people feeling great about the team, because the Mavericks have an opportunity to be pretty good. Let's go, Mavs. Bye, guys.